Good everyone, welcome to today's video, and today it's a Spade review on the Cheery 2 Japanese medium tank, and oh my god, this thing was hard to Spade. I'm not even joking. This thing was like it got better towards the end, but even then it didn't improve by much. This thing was just torture. I felt very outclassed in this tank. It was this, well, it's the size of a King Tiger. It doesn't accelerate very well. I mean, once you get it on a paved road, it's actually okay. I mean, it gets up to top speed pretty okay. Its gun is actually pretty okay. I'm not gonna lie, that's the pretty much the only thing that I can say that's good about this tank, and that's the gun. But even then, it does have a couple of issues, which I'll point out. The armor is crap. I mean, I've only had the gun mantlet save me once, which you will see in this battle. Um, the tank itself doesn't exactly go up hills very well. I mean, it can get up there. I mean, it's got the torque for it, and it's got the track grip for it once you get the tracks upgrade done. But otherwise, this thing's just not very good. I don't see how people can drive this thing constantly, because I do see people driving this thing constantly, and I'd love to know how you have the sanity for it. The 3.7 reload rate is complete bollocks. Well, it's because of the first stage ammo stowage. This thing in real life had an autoloader. Um, but not an autoloader in the sense that we would think. So, let's go into the extra review and I'll explain it as much detail as I know. I may get facts wrong before anyone starts. So here you can see, obviously, you've got the breech for the 75mm. You've then got two shells here, which is the first stage ammo stowage. Now, the game, for some reason, considers this round to be part of that stowage, when in actuality, this shell should be in a breech. And you should have another one there and another one there. So in actuality, your reload rate is only about 4 seconds on this shell here. Then you're down to about a 6 to 7 second reload, which actually isn't too bad considering the actual tank itself. In real life, from what I've been able to find, this autoloader setup was able to do, well, I'm just going to call it it's sort of like a semi-autoloader. This sort of setup could do around about 20 rounds to 30 rounds a minute from what I've been able to find. It was a very effective setup. It's just it didn't work well, it doesn't work like that in game. Originally, this thing was even worse to Spade as it had a 3-round magazine. Obviously, you had the first shell on the breech, you then had that shell and that shell that I pointed out earlier. Then it was about a 30-second reload to reload all three in a clip, which is just pointless. Then they buffed it to how it is now, and even then I don't consider it much of a buff because of how stupid it is. Now, those of you eagle-eyed viewers will also notice that there is a second gun, this hull-mounted 37. Now, you don't really get any new shells for it, you just get Type 94 APHE. It's not very useful. It could maybe deal with an M18 at most, but even then you are not going to be using that 37. You'll see what I do when I spawn in and I get rid of the 37mm rounds because I just don't see the point in them. The 75mm that you do use, however, does have pretty good characteristics. Obviously, your stock round is 148mm, your upgrade round is 150, with a bit better high explosive capability. This means that obviously your tank can deal with most threats that it will see, but obviously APHE rounds aren't the best against angled surfaces, so you're going to struggle against Russians, and obviously jumbos. Let's go into the armor then, shall we? And let's have a laugh. 75mm of basically flat armor. It's not going to stop anything. Maybe an SBA round, but even then, it's not going to stop much. I forgot to mention the hull mount of 7.7. You do not get a coax in this thing, and that thing can be detriment. Your turret traverse is 8.5 degrees a second. It is fucking terrible. It is absolute torture. I mean, if this thing was an SPG, I'd sort of understand it, but this isn't an SPG. And, well, the gun is actually mounted off-center in the turret. Fun fact, it's mounted slightly to the left to allow for this loading system, which, I'm sorry, but that's just ridiculous. You've then got your whole cheeks here, which are 50mm stick, which means you cannot angle this tank at all, because you'll just present this and people will shoot that, and anything will go through it. You can see why this thing was tortured to Spade now, can't you? But trust me, it gets worse. 75mm of basically flat armor on your turret. 50mm, which, I mean, is pretty sloped here, but people never shoot that. They just go here, which is where your gunner sits, I believe. Or in fact, no, I think he's actually there, because that's where the additional slit opens up. You then obviously got side of the turret, 50mm thick, again, not going to stop anything. Side of the hull is 35, which is not going to stop anything. The rear is 35, the rear of the turret is 50, where most of your ammunition is stored. And the lower part is 20mm thick, which again is not going to stop anything. So now you can see why I hated this thing. Its gun was good. The main gun, the 75, was good. It's just the reload mechanism is stupid because it should be how it was in real life. Not only that, it's obviously bugged. And I just don't see the point of driving this tank when the Cheeto and the Cheeto Late are just better because they get a lower BR. If anything, the Cheeto could easily go down to 4.0. The Cheeto Late could go down to 4.3, and this thing could sit comfortably at 4.7 and not be overpowered. But hey, I don't make the rules. Oh, and by the way, if you ever think about taking on a jumbo, you are going to have to go for the MG port. You have no hope of going for his front armor. Not even a turret. So, good luck with that. But anyway, let's jump into the battle. Let's see the best game I managed to squeeze out this piece of shit. Honestly, I'm going to be swearing quite a bit. And I will warn you because this thing's just fucking trash. Like, I have never driven such a blood pressuring and fusing freaking tank in War Thunder. I thought the M3 Lee was bad. I ain't seen nothing yet. This thing's just not usable. It can work, yes, but it is just not very good. But anyway, let's stop the roasting of the tank. Let's get into the battle. So, straight away, KV1 retard just stops and pulls a turn right in front of me, doesn't even look around him. T-34 does the same, and I'm just like, for fuck's sake, right, fuck you, I'm just going to spin it out of the way. This thing does have mass on its side. It is quite a heavy tank, and it does have a 550 horsepower engine. This thing weighs about 41 tons. However, clearly that weight just goes into size alone and not armor. I mean, at least the Dicker Max behind us has the courtesy to bring a big gun that could do about 200 pen, but he sacrifices armor for it. This thing, you get a reasonable gun on a reasonable moving chassis with crap armor. But the armor does save me once in this battle. Once. You'll see later. Because I do a lot of sitting about in this battle, and you'll see why. Because I just don't want to push. I was not confident in this tank's capabilities. Obviously, I've fired off all the 37mm ammunition now. I don't use it, so I don't reckon maybe it'll do. I'll obviously show my stats at the end, as per usual. But otherwise, I just think this tank is not worth your time. This thing is not worth the blood pressure, I can assure you that. I swear, it's the reason why I was actually considering, like, I'm obviously making a joke here, but I swear I need some, like, way of reducing my blood pressure because of this freaking thing. Now, one thing you will notice about this tank is that it seems to really like low RPM. What do I mean by that? Well, when you're moving, you'll notice the engine likes to stick at low RPM for a little bit, and that will really affect your acceleration. Now, I don't know what kind of Japanese engine was designed to be doing that, and I do apologise. I've been all over the place this morning. I'm not in the best of moods because of this tank, and me forgetting things, such as guys on Facebook, doesn't help. So as you saw there, I took a couple of shots at the ASU-57. Obviously, I'm reloading my first stage ammo stowage. You can still get a reload. This is not like a autoloader, like a full-on autoloader. And this isn't how a autoloader does work. And I hit this gun barrel there. Obviously, he's a very lucky little shit, but even so. What you're going to consider is that this tank is a semi-autoloader. So you'll still get reloads in about 6 seconds once your autoloader is empty. But obviously because the Gaijin is modelling, you only get one autoloader reload, in a way. Hopefully they fix that, because then it might actually make this tank a bit less sufferable. So obviously I'm backing up to let my first stage ammo stowage reload. I believe I did have artillery dropped on me, and I called artillery as well. That's why I backed up. Now, if I remember rightly, the guy named Hellraiser is going to be calling the team noobs. However, I find that heavily ironic, because he's level 77 and he does nothing for this team, so I find that ironic. But no, that was Heinz here, wasn't it? It was Hellraiser. Level 11, sorry. Wrong guy. I'm not with it today. I just hate this tank so much, I want it over and done with. First kill, ASU, hull break. Bam. Easy. We know the gun can kill something. So at this point, obviously we're getting capped out. At this point, I spot that jumbo. And obviously I see this KV-85 coming out as well. And well, straight to the side, job done. Second kill. Now you'll notice I sit here a lot staring at that jumbo, because obviously I can't penetrate the front plate of that jumbo. And I can't penetrate the turret of the jumbo, so I'm basically trying to wait for him to, well, move, because you would think he would move eventually. But otherwise, I'm just going to sit here. I sit here for a good few minutes because I just didn't want to move. That jumbo would easily waste me, no problem at all. He could have the stock rounds and he could waste me like I'm nothing. So I'm just going to skip ahead. I tried to play a bit of SPAA here. I just look like a twat doing it, but you're more than happy to try it yourself. Obviously, here comes where the jumbo pushes out. And that's where I pull out, take the shot, and I hit him right in the lower side armor, getting my third kill for the game. So here comes the tracer spamming P47. I was hoping he'd come for a bit of a head-on with my gun, because then I put a round in his face, but unfortunately he didn't give me that privilege. But you can just see how slow the turret traverse is. In fact, we'll go to... look how slow that is. Most of the time it's actually beneficial to turn your turret with the hull, because you just don't have the speed of the turret traverse. And I'm sorry, but this thing is just a pile of trash. I don't advise people Spade in this tank. If you do go down the Japanese medium line, please just ignore this thing. Research it. Move on. You don't need to Spade it. You'll save a lot of blood pressure. So today, see KV-85, I was thinking of lining up a shot on him, but obviously he's got an IS-1 turret, I wasn't going to take that shot. So now I'm just playing the waiting game. So you see a park wagon there. I don't know how he missed a side shot on a KV-85. It has basically no armor. So at this point the KV-85 turned, so I was like, fuck. But luckily the park wagon takes him out and I get an assist, which I'll take it. At this time of the battle, I believe I was 3 or 4 mods from being spaded. I just didn't like this thing at all. But here's a funny moment. BTR 152, hull breakable vehicle. This is a 75mm gun. I go, alright, engine block. No hull break. And I'm just thinking, okay. But then I hit the transmission and it hull breaks it. Okay. Not my problem. 4th kill. I just find it weird how Gaijin is even screwing over their own players by introducing a mechanic that requires 75mm at this PR anyway, and it just doesn't work. Great job, Gaijin. You done goofed. So, obviously, I am going to be moving from this position eventually. It is a nice spot. I do like this spot. Because obviously you get bush cover, you get good gun depression points and everything. And it's something like a 76 jumbo in a full down tier. This would be a perfect spot. But obviously I can't rely on my armor in this thing, so I've got to be very careful. So I think this is at this point where I'm close to putting my man pants on and actually moving. See, there you can see an M15, obviously, and an enemy vehicle was on the A point. That's why I didn't move for a bit. But this Panzer 4G right here is going to go deal with it. It was an M15 half track, who for some reason decided to rush a capture point when he knew there was tanks there. But it's at this point where I put on my man pants and I think, right, let's move. Obviously I'm putting it up to 8 times speed just to increase, or just show you how slow this thing is sometimes across rough terrain. Obviously I'm moving up and you're going to see where the armor saved me once in this thing. Otherwise, this armor did not save me at all. So obviously I'm moving up here. I didn't see the M10 to my left. I think the teammate dealt with him before I could see him anyway. And so at this point, I'm just moving up through the trees, and I'm thinking, okay, let's see what we can find. It is around this point, I look to my left, I just see the burning KV-1. Look to my right, just check around me, and it's at this moment where I see the T-34. But you might not have seen it there, but there is actually a shell. Do you remember that 20mm of additional armor on the turret front? That's what saved us right there. If it had hit just a bit more to the left, he would have penetrated. And he would have most likely had me as a kill. The armor actually saved me for once, people. Which is surprising. It's even gotten to the point where I fear the Russian AAA trucks because of that. I believe there's one in this battle which that was an artillery round, not a anti-tank round. Don't worry. And there's a guy there in chat, Lee Solstice. He's saying like, "Oh, guys, you need to make a well. He's going to make a poll where level 50 plus players cannot play with low tier players." Mate, that's been happening for years. Deal with it. How else are we going to explore new tech trees? Like, duh, that's the whole point. You've got to start somewhere. And I'm not being funny, right? You're probably like level 15, so what point do you have to make? I'm here spading a piece of shit, so that's just how it works, unfortunately. So, obviously, I'm sitting here and I'm waiting for something to come out of spawn, because at the end of the day, we've got the point, our team's pushed up pretty hard, and I'm just thinking, well, I don't know what's out there, but I know for a fact that there's at least some SPAA, which would be basically 3 kills for this thing. Obviously, at this point, I'm going a bit side on here, and I didn't see the ZIS 43, and I thought I wasn't paying that much attention, to be honest. And you can see the engine has actually gone yellow. He was going through the side armor of this thing. That's how crap their armor is. If a ZIS 43 anti-aircraft truck can pen me at almost 800 meters, you can see why I hate this thing. And I've probably said that about 4 times now, but I honestly don't care, and I just hate this thing that much. This tank is just absolute crap. I honestly would love to know if there's any poor sod out there who's grinded the skins for this thing. Because I certainly won't be. Normally I love grinding skins, but for a tank like this, ain't worth my time. So I'm just moving up here. I'm getting ready to sit up into the spawn area. Because there's nothing for me to do here, people. I might as well just sit here and just see if I can get a free frag for my efforts. At this point, a Achilles has just been marked. Obviously I hit the engine block, that didn't really do anything, but second shell explodes in the crew compartment, and that is my 7th and final kill for this game. So what do I think of this Cheery 2 then? Well, like I say, I think it's a pile of garbage. It can work. It's just very hard to do so. This tank really tests you. And I'll show you my stats in the vehicle. Uh, where are we? 46 deaths, 95 ground kills. I'm just scraping the 2-to-1 kill death ratio in this tank. And battles like this were the reason why. This thing got better towards the end, but even then I had to work hard for it. And I just don't see the point of this tank. It really is a pile of trash. But anyway, I'll let you guys off. You've heard me ramble about enough about how much I fucking hate this thing. But that's just how it is, unfortunately. Anyway, I will see you all on the next one.